The morning sun had barely risen when Emeka returned to the Adibeo estate, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. The mansion was still waking up, its silence a stark contrast to the bustling city outside. He was let in by the same gatekeeper, this time with a nod of recognition, and he made his way to the study where he would begin his new role. Ada was already there, books spread out like a battlefield of knowledge. She looked up, her smile genuine. "Good morning, Emeka. Ready to dive into the trenches of physics and chemistry?" "Absolutely," Emeka replied, setting his bag down. He felt the weight of her expectations but also a strange sense of connection, as if they had known each other longer than just a day. Their session started with a review of past JAM questions. Ada's intelligence shone through, though her focus occasionally wavered. Emeka found himself drawn into her world, not just as a tutor but as someone who genuinely wanted to see her succeed. They laughed over a particularly tricky question, their laughter filling the study, a sound unfamiliar to the mansion's usually formal air. During a brief break, Nkechi entered with refreshments. Her eyes met Emeka's for a fleeting moment. There was something in her gaze, a challenge or perhaps an invitation, that Emeka couldn't quite decipher. She moved silently, yet her presence was palpable, adding another layer to the dynamic in the room. "Would you like anything else?" Nkechi's voice was soft, her accent carrying the lilt of the East. "No, thank you, Nkechi," Ada answered, her tone friendly but with an edge that suggested a hierarchy Emeka was only beginning to understand. Once Nkechi left, Ada's demeanor shifted back to that of a student, but Emeka noticed how she watched the door where Nkechi had disappeared. There was history there, a story he wasn't privy to yet. The sessions went on, each one a dance of minds. Emeka was impressed by Ada's grasp of concepts, her questions challenging him to think deeper, to teach not just for the exam but for understanding. As they worked through problems, he felt a closeness developing, a bond that went beyond teacher and student. Lunch was served in the dining room, an opulent affair where Emeka felt out of place among the fine china and silverware. Mrs. Adibeo joined them, her questions probing into his methods, his background, his plans. Emeka answered with care, aware that his performance here was under scrutiny. After lunch, while Ada took a short break, Mrs. Adibeo pulled Emeka aside. "You're doing well with her," she said, her voice low. "But remember, Emeka, this house has its complexities. I trust you to keep things professional." Emeka nodded, understanding the unspoken warning. "Of course, ma'am. My priority is Ada's success in her exams." "Good," she said, but her eyes lingered on him, as if assessing his sincerity. Back in the study, Ada was more animated, her laughter more frequent, her questions more engaging. Emeka found himself enjoying the sessions, the intellectual challenge but also the companionship. However, the shadow of Mrs. Adibeo's words hung over him, a reminder of the boundaries he must keep. As the day drew to a close, Nkechi appeared again to tidy up. She moved with a grace that was almost poetic, her eyes occasionally meeting Emeka's, each look laden with unspoken questions. He felt a pull, an attraction to her mystery, her quiet strength, which contrasted sharply with Ada's vibrant, open energy. Emeka left the mansion that evening, his mind a swirl of equations, laughter, and the silent, intense gazes of two women who had begun to occupy his thoughts. He knew he was walking a tightrope, one where professional duty and personal feelings could easily collide. The tutor's dilemma was no longer just about teaching, it was about navigating the heart's unexpected turns in a house full of secrets. The evening sky over Ikoyi had darkened, the stars obscured by the city's glow as Emeka made his way back to the Adebayo mansion for another tutoring session. The familiarity of the route was comforting, yet each visit seemed to unveil new layers in his interaction with the household. Tonight felt different. The mansion was quieter, almost as if it was holding its breath. Ada was waiting in the study, her usual brightness dimmed by the weight of the upcoming exams. They plunged into the work, but the numbers and formulas seemed less engaging tonight. Ada's focus was off, her mind wandering, and Emeka sensed something was wrong. "Everything okay, Ada?" he asked gently after a particularly long pause. She looked up, her eyes meeting his, a storm of emotions barely contained beneath the surface. "It's just, everything feels so overwhelming sometimes," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's so much pressure to succeed." Emeka nodded, understanding the burden of expectations. "You're doing great, Ada. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, it means you care. But remember, you're not alone in this." The session continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. It became more personal, more intimate. As they worked through a particularly challenging physics problem, Ada's laughter returned, though now tinged with vulnerability. When they took a break, instead of staying in the study, Ada suggested they step out to the garden, an area Emeka had only glimpsed from afar. The garden was a secret sanctuary, filled with the scent of night-blooming flowers. The air was cool, soothing, and alive with the quiet hum of crickets. They sat on a stone bench beneath a trellis of jasmine, the silence between them comfortable yet charged. "I'm glad you're here, Emeka," Ada said suddenly, her voice soft. "You make these sessions feel less like a prison sentence." He smiled. "I'm glad to help, Ada. But remember, this isn't just about the exams, it's about learning for life." She turned to face him, her expression thoughtful, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the house lights. "And what about you? What do you want from life?" The question caught him off guard. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I want to make a difference. I want to teach, to inspire. And, maybe find someone who understands that dream." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Ada's hand found his, her touch light, but electric. "I think I understand that dream," she whispered. The night deepened around them, and their conversation turned from dreams to fears, from hopes to confessions. Ada spoke of the loneliness of wealth, the pressure of being the Adebayo heiress, and her longing for something real, something beyond the gilded cage of her life. Emeka shared his own journey, from his humble beginnings to the bustling city, his struggles, and his aspirations. As the night grew colder, they moved closer, seeking warmth, or perhaps something more. When their lips met, it was tentative at first, then deepened with a rush of emotions neither could deny. The kiss spoke of longing, of finding something genuine amidst the artifice of their lives. But as quickly as it came, the moment ended. Ada pulled back, her eyes wide with realization. "We shouldn't, this is wrong," she said, her voice trembling with conflict. Emeka nodded, his heart pounding. "You're right. I'm sorry, Ada. We need to keep this professional." They returned to the study in silence, the kiss hanging between them like a secret too heavy for the room. The rest of the session was mechanical, their interactions tilted, both avoiding each other's gaze. Something had changed, irrevocably. As Emeka left the mansion, he encountered Nkechi in the hallway. Her eyes were sharp, probing, as if she sensed the shift in the house's dynamics. She didn't speak, but her gaze lingered, heavy with unspoken questions. Walking home, Emeka's mind was a tumult of emotions. He had crossed a line, one that could affect not just his job but the lives of everyone in that mansion. The midnight confession in the garden had opened Pandora's box. Now, he had to navigate the consequences of that fleeting moment of weakness, or was it a moment of truth?